The migration to a new Synology is very, very difficult. It is indeed. I have been driving a Mac since the Mac Plus used Keyboard Maestro, Alfred, Homebridge, etc. I'm ready to give up and get a Mac Mini and a couple of hard drives. Thoughts? Is there an easy way to migrate that I don't know? And should I cut my losses and move on? Thanks, Patrick.
They have a migration path that is ridiculously easy. What you do is you take the drives from your old Synology, and in the same order, you move them to your new Synology. And I can't stress enough how important that order is. If you forget the order, I recommend either moving the drives one at a time, drive bay 1 to drive bay 1, drive bay 2 to drive bay 2. But if you're going to take them out, label them when you take them out. Either way, just make sure you don't mess up the order. And if you do that, and then you power on the new one, it'll come up. It'll offer to upgrade the operating system on it to match whatever the new one is. And in general, it just kind of takes your installation and is now running it on the new Synology. If there's a capability mismatch, if you're downgrading in capabilities, that can be a little bit of an issue. But otherwise, yes. However, if as part, and I believe Patrick is wanting to do this, as part of the migration to a new unit, you want to start on a fresh batch of new drives. And there's great reason to want to do this. But if you want to start on a fresh batch of new drives, then it is on you, of course, to figure out how to migrate your data over. And that's where I was going next, is that Synology does have a migration assistant that is built to do this. You run it on both NASs, and it grabs your settings and app data and your user data and all that, all your configuration stuff, and moves it over. Except it doesn't run on the 416 play, which is his old unit. And I don't know why this is. I wish I had an answer to that. Seems like you just want to be able to make it run on everything. But who knows? Maybe there was a CPU limitation of how they wrote Migration Assistant on the Synology, or whatever world that is. He doesn't have that option. And so, yes, this is a manual process. And I wish I could say, like on the Mac, it's not as bad as you think, the whole nuke and pave thing. And it might be not as bad as we think, but I've never done it. I've always just migrated my stuff over by moving the drives and dealt with the consequences of that for better and for worse over the years. So, but that, I mean, the way I would approach it is, okay, I know where all my data is stored. You have your shared volumes and you have your user folders. That's essentially where your data is going to be. And the good news is you have the old unit with the old drive. So if you forget something, it's right there. You just move it over. They are on the network. The real trick would be apps and configurations. And that's one of those things where I would just look and say, okay, what apps do I run on my old one that I actually use? Because you might have installed some things that you're not really using or whatever. And then I would one by one install those and then go through the settings screens and, have them up in two different browser windows and just go back and forth and be like, oh, yep, check this box, uncheck that box, yada, yada, name it this, go here, do that. And like a nuke and pave, that will sort of force an audit by you of what you're running, and you might actually make things more efficient and more reliable.
But is there a world where you do the easy path to get the Synology up and running and then just start swapping in drives and letting it rebuild, and then swap in the next one and let it do its thing, and then swap in the next, and then eventually you have all the new drives?
That also takes a few days.
Yeah, but I mean, it's no big deal. You just
you're not doing the work.
Right, you're not doing the work. Yeah, exactly. And clearly, your old drives have enough space on them for your old data, just sort of by definition of the laws of the universe. And so, yeah, like that would be, boy. Now that you say it out loud, that's the answer. Yeah. Yeah, we can just erase everything else, and Patrick's becomes like a 30-second question.
The problem is that I recall, I did this recently with my 415 play. I put in 4 8-terabyte drives, and it turns out that no matter what, the 415 doesn't go above, I want to say 24 terabytes. And so I got there and I wound up having to put an entirely new volume on it as well in order to take advantage of the fact that I had 32 terabytes worth of drives.
Yes. That would, if you're, yes, because
so check ahead of time what your ceiling is.
Yeah, the limitations of the volume that you created on the original NAS would carry over. So if, for example, it was, ext4 and you wanted BTRFS as the file system, that's not going to happen when you do it the way you described, Adam, when you just do the in-place replacement. If you want to, and I suppose now that we're saying this, there was one time when I did this manual data move because I wanted to move from ext4 to BTRFS. And that has paid off because I forgot about it, and it's been basically smooth sailing ever since. Other than that one issue I had, but we won't go into that. Self-inflicted wounds, but yeah. So, but it really. So I have done this now that I say it, and it wasn't. It was I budgeted a Saturday afternoon for it, and it probably, I don't have a recollection of it spilling into now it's Tuesday and, I haven't showered and my family's just, bringing me food. It wasn't one of those, scenarios. So it was, having two screens is really probably the best thing, and just, go back and forth. And there is benefit to getting on the latest volumes, file system, and then also, to your point, Pete, creating a new volume from scratch. You get all the benefits. You get the 8 gig system partition size instead of the 1 gig system partition size right out of the gate, which is really good for all the reasons that the self-inflicted wounds I said we weren't going to talk about. So